Yo. All right, so I'm going to just record the thing, and you can watch me record the thing. It'll be very exciting, hopefully. But we're going to go with Dome, Sweet Dome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record the whole podcast, and then we're going to go with Dome, Sweet Dome. And let me make sure I have that photo exactly. Oh wait, I'm sorry. There's one thing I have to do because. Oh no, you know what? I'm good. I'm fine. All right, so we're going to set this up. We're going to make sure we've got the photo. The image is right where we want it. And I've got my clips, Dome. Trump announces the Dome. I've got the audio ready to go. I've got Dome, Hegseth. Then I've got President Donald Trump at the Hill. And then I've got the auto pen. I've got Rubio. I've got Rollins talking about Van Hollen. That's good. And then we'll stop with some Tom Homan. Now, the last thing I'm going to do, because I do have the story about the Pope, the Pope's brother, which was good. So I'm going to do that. And then the last thing I always do, I think I told you, is I tease Mark K Saves the Republic. I just open up the podcast page and then I just tease that at the end. So that's how we're going to end. We're going to put that right there. Boom. And so that'll be my final shot. Okay, now the dogs are barking, so we'll have to do something about them. All right. So here we go. I'm going to hit record. Okay, first, I have to go here and I have to change this to just record. So, and I'm going to do a couple faces. I'm going to do a couple faces at the beginning. Don't think I'm weird, but that's just for my still. I mean, I am a little weird, but that's all right. Here we go. That's always a good one. Okay, good. I'll pick one of those. All right, here we go. It's Wednesday, May the 21st. Today is Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. This is the 47 Daily Podcast. My name is Mark K. Dome, Sweet Dome. President Donald Trump announced his plans to create the Golden Dome that surrounds the entire country. This is the dome that he promised during the campaign that he said would be like the Iron Dome in Israel. Only it's Donald Trump, so instead of an Iron Dome, we're going to upgrade it on the metallic scale, or the atomic scale of elements. Atomic table, that's what it's called. You can tell science wasn't my big. Political science, yes. Regular science, no. But the Golden Dome is now going to become a reality thanks to President Donald Trump, the American military. Probably Elon Musk is involved in some way. And Donald Trump was at the Oval Office yesterday to announce his plans for the Golden Dome and show everybody exactly what it is, how it's going to work, and why we need it.
In the campaign, I promised the American people that I would build a cutting-edge missile defense shield to protect our homeland from the threat of foreign missile attack. And that's what we're doing. Today I'm pleased to announce that we have officially selected an architecture for this state-of-the-art system that will deploy next-generation technologies across the land, sea, and space, including space-based sensors and interceptors. And Canada has called us and they want to be a part of it. So we'll be talking to them. They want to have protection also. So, as usual, we help Canada do the best we can. This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term. So we'll have it done in about 3 years. Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles, even if they are launched from other sides of the world and even if they are launched from space. And we will have the best system ever built. As you know, we helped Israel with theirs, and it was very successful, and now we have technology that's even far advanced from that, but including hypersonic missiles, ballistic missiles, and advanced cruise missiles. All of them will be knocked out of the air. We will truly be completing the job that President Reagan started 40 years ago, forever ending the missile threat to the American homeland, and the success rate is very close to 100%, which is incredible when you think of it. You're shooting bullets out of the air.
Donald Trump announcing plans for the Golden Dome. This is a very dangerous world. We're going to protect our citizens like never before. President Donald J. Trump. And a couple of really interesting things about this Golden Dome structure that he's talking about. It's going to be able to shoot out intergalactic missiles, ballistic missiles, missiles from space, all these things, much like with Israel. And this is an added layer of protection that we've never had, but we've always wanted. The Star Wars program, which was the first division of President Ronald Reagan back in the 80s. I remember him always touting the Star Wars program and the Star Wars missile defense program, and we needed Star Wars. But the problem was the technology was nowhere near as advanced as it is today. We had the vision, we had the idea, but we didn't have the ability to do what President Ronald Reagan envisioned, 50 years ago today. Now, President Donald Trump says we do. We have the capability, we have the military might, we have the money, we have the technology, and we are going to do it. The second really interesting thing about this is that Canada called and said, we'd like some protection too, eh? Hey, while you're building a golden dome around the U.S., could you maybe include like Canada, eh? You know, because Alaska's up there, and maybe just instead of just like carving us out, could you just put around the whole thing? We'll be your best friend, eh? We'll send you some moose head and some maple syrup, eh? That's what Canada's. And Donald Trump said, of course, we're going to protect Canada. I imagine there'll be calls from Mexico. I imagine the telefono will ring and it'll be Claudia Sheinbaum going, Donald, ¿qué pasa? El Dome Goldano, or I don't know, what is golden? It's Oro, I think. Oro Dome, I think is what they call it in Mexico. But that's Donald Trump's plan, to keep Americans safe. And he said, this is the most exciting thing about this. He said, it should be completed by the end of my term. Now, I don't know. I've never built a Golden Dome missile defense system around not just one, but two of the largest countries in the world. I've never done that personally. I don't know anyone who has. But for him to say this is going to be completed in record time before the end of his term that's a remarkable feat. That's an incredible claim. And if anyone's going to be able to do it, it's going to be President Donald Trump. But it appears that, and again, I don't know if he sees a threat that we don't, or if he's just trying to mitigate any threat that may come. But the longer that Iran, for example, continues to try and harness the power of nuclear power and nuclear missile capabilities, the longer I think Donald Trump's going to be pushing toward this military might. Because remember, military might isn't just offensive, it's defensive. You have to be able to strike anywhere, anytime, with any amount of power, and be lethal and do it without any American casualty or unnecessary casualty. That's the first part of peace through strength. The second part is you've got to be able to defend your homeland better than anyone else. And this is what Donald Trump's new idea is. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, was also present in the Oval Office for the announcement of the new Golden Dome. And here's how he described it. Crap. Hang on. I lost the clip because I didn't lock it. So, all right. So we're going to have to edit this part out. Hang on. I got it here.
Mr. President, add this to the long and growing list of promises made and promises kept. Ultimately, this right here, the Golden Dome for America, is game changer. It's a generational investment in the security of America and Americans. Mr. President, you said we're to secure our southern border and get 100% operational control after the previous administration allowed an invasion of people into our country. President Reagan 40 years ago cast the vision for it. The technology wasn't there. Now it is, and you're following through to say we will protect the homeland from cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, drones, whether they're conventional or nuclear. It's not lost on me, sir, also that you had the vision to start the Space Force. And here we are, when the others said we didn't need it, here we are in the Oval Office with one of the leaders of the Space Force, in General Gutlein, leading the charge on putting in place a game-changing Golden Dome for America. So, sir, it's an honor to be a part of this bold initiative. We're going to get to work on it. We have been since you signed that executive order on January 27th. We've been fast forward on this. We're here on this day, and this is just one stop in delivering this defense of the homeland, which is something you've charged us with doing, and we'll keep going until it is complete, sir.
Thank you.
There you go. Pete Hegseth saying, look, you had the vision to create the Space Force. You had the vision way back in your first term. And now that you're back and now that we have the technology, we're going to carry forth and we're going to make sure that this dream becomes a reality, that Americans are protected anywhere they happen to be inside the United States of America. Not only did he have General Huthmeyer there, but Donald Trump also had a very special guest for the announcement of the Golden Dome. And that was the Pope's brother. The Pope's brother was there as well. There's J.D. Vance, the Pope's brother, Louis Prevost, who notably became very famous last week when when Robert Prevost, or Bob, became Pope Louis XIV. His older brother, resides in Florida, and immediately his tweets and his Twitter history and his social media posts were scrutinized, and he was questioned about, some posts he made about Nancy Pelosi. But let's be honest, who hasn't made questionable posts about Nancy Pelosi? Raise your hand if you've never ever written anything negative about Nancy Pelosi on your ex. This is why my brother could never be Pope, because I've got a lot of that stuff on my. Also, I don't have a brother. But that's neither here nor there. But Louis Prevost he was one of the first people in the Oval Office. He was there smiling with the president, and he had a great time. So a really fun and exciting day at the White House. The Golden Dome, the Pope's brother. It's just, it really is one of the most amazing places on the face of the earth. And Donald Trump has it open to just about everybody. Donald Trump did take a field trip, though, yesterday. He decided that not only was he going to hang out at home, but he had some work to do. So President Donald Trump made his way over to Capitol Hill to meet with congressional Republicans. Why? Well, because congressional Republicans have a big job to do. They've got to pass the big, beautiful bill, Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill, which will continue to finance the government, finance the military, allow us to continue our big, beautiful deportations, continue and finish construction of the border wall along our southern border with Mexico. And then let's not forget, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and all those Social Security benefits that Donald Trump had as well. Caroline Leavitt mentioned the trip to Capitol Hill in her press briefing.
Earlier this morning, President Trump traveled to Capitol Hill to meet with members of the House of Representatives to talk about the one big, beautiful bill that we are trying to pass through Congress. The president is now back at the White House, where he is taking meetings. And later this afternoon, he will be making an announcement from the Oval Office with our Secretary of Defense. He's in charge of our military, Pete Hegseth.
That is Caroline Leavitt speaking like she's talking to children because she's in the press room. Also, it was Take Your Kids to Work Day. But a lot of the press were probably like, oh, yeah. So that was her talking about the big, beautiful bill meeting, teasing the meeting later on in the Oval Office to announce the Golden Dome, and that's why the babies were crying in the background, too. Take your kid to work day. They even do it at the White House because they know, like Whitney Houston once told us, that the children are our future. But President Donald Trump said we had a great meeting. We had a really great meeting yesterday in Congress. It was a meeting of love.
That's really what we did today. I think it was a really great. That was a meeting of love. Let me tell you, that was love in that room. There was no shouting. I think it was a meeting of love. There were a couple of things that we talked about specifically where some people felt a little bit one way or the other, not a big deal. And I covered them. It wasn't so much a speech. I covered certain points. And I think I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, it was a meeting of love. There was no shouting. There was no arguing. There were some negative comments about Thomas Massie, though, because Thomas Massie, President Donald Trump says, doesn't really understand how the government works.
Say it. I'm a fiscal hawk. I'm a bigger fiscal hawk. There's nobody like me as a fiscal hawk.
Massie said it adds more deficit than Biden did. This bill kind of
because we have to fix the country.
Do you think that Thomas Massie is correct in saying that this is adding Biden levels?
No, I don't think Thomas Massie understands government. I think he's a grandstander, frankly. He'll probably vote. We don't even talk to him much. I think he should be voted out of office. And I just don't think he understands government. If you ask him a couple of questions, he never gives you an answer. He just says, I'm a no. He thinks he's going to get publicity. And you have that. You have that. They've got some, too. Go ahead.
Donald Trump saying it was a meeting of love. Thomas Massie, however, we should be voted out of the government. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, alongside Donald Trump, looking very uncomfortable when Donald Trump was lambasting Thomas Massie from Kentucky. But the congressman has famously said, I will be voting no on any bill that does not have a dollar-for-dollar offset. And this bill does not have a dollar-for-dollar offset, so there is a lot to argue about. There's also the SALT tax. The SALT deduction, the state and local income tax deduction that a lot of these blue state Republicans are fighting for and getting was tripled in this bill, yet they don't believe it's enough. They need more. They need more so that they can go back to their constituents in these blue states and these blue cities and these blue districts and sell Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill so that they can keep their seats. And if they keep their seats, then the Republicans keep control of Congress. And if the Republicans keep control of Congress, then Donald Trump just does not get impeached. And that's probably everybody's goal. So the SALT deduction is also going to be a big point of contention. There's a lot of red state Republicans, like yours truly, who don't pay income tax, who don't have state income tax, and who don't get a SALT deduction, and therefore are subsidizing the government of the United States of America more than these blue states are, which just seems wholly unfair. But, you know, again, that's an argument for another day. The question was also brought up about the Medicaid lie. The media and the Democrats love to say that Donald Trump is destroying Medicaid. He's cutting Medicaid. He's ripping away your health insurance. And none of that is true. He's taking away Medicaid from 1.4 million illegal immigrants who somehow found themselves getting Medicaid and Medicare. He's taken away Medicaid and Medicare from 1.4 million illegal immigrants who have been defrauding the government. It's wasteful, it's fraud, it's abuse. And those are the reasons why Donald Trump is cutting them out of the system. However, cutting Medicaid from people who should not be receiving it makes Medicaid better for people who should be.
Apparently you said don't ask with Medicaid. Apparently you did say in the room there is some concern among some Republicans, including Senator Josh Hawley, that this could impact benefits and that could be amount to a quote hidden tax on the.
Here's what I said.
I'm wondering if you're.
Here's what I said. What are you going to say? I said waste, fraud, and abuse for Medicaid. If you find waste or fraud or abuse, we want to strengthen Medicaid. We want to strengthen Medicare. Waste, fraud, and abuse. The Democrats will let illegals be on. They'll destroy it. It will be destroyed. They want to have illegal immigrants be on. And if you do that, because it wasn't designed for that. Waste, fraud, and abuse.
Those are the three things you need to remember. Waste, fraud, and abuse. Waste, fraud, and abuse. Those are the three things they're cutting out of Medicaid. They're not cutting Medicaid. They're not cutting Medicare. They're cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. But the Democrats and the liberals and the media are going to spin it any way that they can because, well, that's all they can do. Hey, speaking of spin, this Joe Biden story has just been exploding. And Donald Trump was asked about Joe Biden and his cognitive difficulties and his health problems and whether or not he was actually in control of the White House when he was, well, supposedly in control of the White House. And President Trump, of course, had multiple comments to make about that issue.
What happened? Because Biden, look, it's a very sad thing what happened, but I believe we're going to start looking into this whole thing with who signed this legislation. Who signed legislation opening our border? I don't think he knew. I said there's nobody that would want an open border. Nobody. And now I find out that it wasn't him. He auto-penned it. Who was operating the auto-pen? This is a very serious thing. We had a president that didn't sign anything. He auto-penned almost everything. He opened the borders of the United States of America. And I kept saying, who would do such a thing? Allowing criminals to pour in from all over the world, not just South America, all over the world. They came in from Africa, they came in from Asia, they came from the Congo. The prisons in the Congo in Africa, these are rough people. The prisons from the Congo are empty. You know where they are? They're in this country. Who would sign this? Nobody would sign it. No sane person would sign it. You know who signed it? Radical left lunatics that were running our country, and the auto-pen signed it. And they didn't want him, and they were disappointed in getting him because they wanted Bernie Sanders. And then after about 2 weeks, they said, wait a minute, this is a gift. He'll do anything. We're going to use the auto-pen. And they used the auto-pen and everything. He didn't approve this stuff because when Joe Biden was with it, he would never have approved it. You take a look. He would have never approved open borders. Go ahead, another one.
So Donald Trump alluding to the fact that Joe Biden didn't sign these orders, that somebody was in control of the auto pen, and that there should be investigations. But we are clearly teetering on breaking open the biggest fraud ever perpetrated on the United States of America and her citizens and voters. Also, when it comes to immigration, we had a spirited back and forth between Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, and Chris Van Hollen, the Democrat senator from Maryland, who flew all the way, you may remember, to El Salvador to drink margaritas with Abrego Garcia, who is an MS-13 gang member and has beaten his wife at least twice that we know of, because at least twice that we know of, she went and got restraining orders against him. He has been deported. He's in CCOT prison, and Chris Van Hollen wants to bring this MS-13 gang member and potential wife beater back home to Maryland and put him back in the house with his wife, who he's beaten at least twice. Chris Van Hollen is a real great representative for his constituents, but he attacked Marco Rubio, and Marco Rubio wasn't having any of it.
In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members. gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come, you're going to see who you went to
look,
defend.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated comments like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor. You've
Secretary
had your time.
Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court in the United States because he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay? There is a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge in the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy.
And that's exactly what's happening, but that wasn't even it. Marco Rubio dropped the hammer and the microphone on Senator Van Hollen when Senator Van Hollen said probably one of the rudest and dumbest things he's ever said. And this is a guy who says a lot of rude and a lot of dumb things, but Marco Rubio had the last laugh.
And I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job based on what I know.
Well, that's just a flippant statement, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
I didn't ask.
Senator, please let the Secretary have
I'd be
the floor.
happy to, but then I can respond to his.
Your time's up, Senator, and woefully used, I might add.
Woefully used, I might add. I love the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. Whoa, your time is up, Senator, and woefully used. Remember, you only have so much time on this planet. Don't use it woefully, like traveling to El Salvador to have margaritas with gang members. Listen, there's so much more we got to get to. There's new clips from Tom Homan talking about LaMonica McIver, the congresswoman who was charged by the Department of Justice and Alina Habba yesterday for attacking an ICE officer in New Jersey. There's also more information about the Golden Dome as it comes open and more about the big, beautiful bill. That's why we have not one but two daily podcasts. At 1 p.m. Eastern today, you can watch Mark Kaye Saves the Republic on any of our live streaming platforms, or you can download it whenever it's convenient for you. Go to Spotify, go to iTunes, go to any popular podcast platform. It's a lot of alliteration. And download Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Download, listen, and enjoy. Oh, okay, good. All right, so unfortunately, now I have to edit. We'll get to that in the next one.